it's never easy to follow the likes of CP and Sanjay to talk about a topic like diversity. And trust me, we are not talking about diversity just because, the India Diversity Forum is an associate partner, but the fact is that this remains a very, very pertinent question across all boardrooms, across all sizes of organization, across diverse sectors. But we do have a Power Pack panel to kind of decode that for us. But before we get deep diving into the topic of the business case of diversity, let me throw that question. What does diversity really mean to you? Venkatesh, why don't you start?
Okay, I think diversity is a little bit of an exaggerated word. To me, diversity is really about working with people. Today working with people is a very, very normal thing, right? So, we have redefined the term of saying that everybody needs to be included. Everybody needs to feel, equitable, right? But isn't that what it's supposed to be? I mean, think about it. Go back to families and you have, 10 children or 10 different family members, and suddenly you start saying, hey, you know what? Everybody needs to feel equal. Okay, so to me, diversity is a little bit of an exaggerated word, but like it is spoken about, let me say, what diversity means to me is about carrying legacy leadership and carrying young talent and young thoughts, parallelly together, and how you really, bring them together, use the best of both sides of the world, and make an organization successful. I think that is a reasonable definition of diversity for me.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those topics which you think is obvious, as you said, that it should be normal, but there's still lack of that depth and lack of the, that unison happening. But let me throw that question to people, in the audience. Any different thoughts on diversity? What does that mean to you? Apart from gender, apart from demographics, what does diversity really mean? Any takers? A difficult crowd. Abhishek, what about your sense on that?
Hi, good morning all. Diversity, I would say, in terms of ideas, in terms of how you respect those ideas, how do you include them and then say, yes, this is something which, you bring to the table, this could change this, give that thought to it. I think that's what diversity is. It is just not about people coming from different skin, color, size, whatever, but in terms of their experiences which they bring to the table. And I think it's a journey by itself. Who got late today? There was diversity on the inclusion road as well. So diverse crowd, a lot of inclusion and traffic. So that was also there. So I mean, diversity, it's a process, as what Mr. Naidu said. I think it's always been there. We have always respected and treated it well. The idea is to include it further and execute it.
No, sure, but do you think this is more of a topic which is talked about in theory, that it has to be done, but it's not done that well? And let me throw the questions to the, all the CHROs out there who have perhaps in their current organizations or earlier organizations, while talked about it a lot, but wasn't really getting implemented on the ground. Hands up for the people who ever thought that there was a case that diversity was not being, kind of talked about enough and at least implemented enough. Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. You're talking about diversity of thoughts, but since you talked about it, let me bring something to the table. What happened last week? I was being scouted as a strategy consultant by somebody, and everything went well, and they were talking about how I'm a great fit for the role and all of that. But they said it's a very founder-led organization, and we are not sure whether there is a place for your forward-looking, your diversity of thought or not. And that takes me back to the question. They're still worried whether you fit in that way of culture that they define. So how do you marry that? Rajiv, what's your take on that?
So while agreeing with both the panelists who just mentioned something about diversity, I think in my view it is total inclusivity. That is what it is. It's a very wide zone, diverse zone. And if you look at our country, we have been talking about unity in diversity. I think we have been listening this from our school days. So inclusiveness, and if you look at the HR parlance, maybe 2 decades ago, social dialogue was being talked about. Inclusivity is now the new buzzword. social dialogue has been there for the last 20, 25 years. I think that was the starting point. Listen to everyone, respect their ideas, incorporate those ideas into your strategy or strategic thought process. That is what is diversity. And I'm sure Indian organizations are, some of them are benchmarks for that. They're doing wonderfully well on that.
Okay. But, Manish, there's always a problem. While in certain sectors it's easier to bring forward diversity and inclusion, in some of the traditional sectors it's not as easy just because the way of the business is such. And you also come from one of such, businesses. What's the practicality of it?
Yeah, thank you. So you are right. I think some of the trades or businesses it is much easier, but I think diversity as a subject is very diverse. So when we look at, let's say we come from construction sector in general to that extent, and we just actually inducted a GET batch, and you'll be surprised that there are more girls registering for civil engineering now than ever before.
That's great to hear.
Because there are, things have changed. When we looked at construction, in fact, when I went to my civil engineering, you only imagine two things when it comes to an engineer, that time, is helmet and a drawing, that little folded drawing in the hand. There is no other, an engineer at that time also meant only civil engineer. So coming back to the topic is, yes, it is difficult, but I think to be able to, include this diversity, your thought also has to be very diverse. I think I will take it as that. The girl or maybe somebody who is a little older, 50 plus, let's say, is ready and perhaps, more suitable for a site role, but it is your mind which is telling you that, it is not going to be, she's a girl or he's 50 plus or is like that, may not be suitable. So I think our mindset, I think, is the biggest problem that we think it that way. I also believe many times we also, talk, and there are a lot of, HR people here. In HR also I have seen, they say HR generalist and they say HR specialist. So there has always been a fight about generalist versus specialist also. I believe that you need both. You need both. And it is once again our mindset, which is preventing us from that. Why can't a generalist, somebody was saying, why can't HR be the CEO? I will say, why can't a generalist be a CEO? We all fear it, generalist, sales, finance, this, that, but they could be, because at that level, you are basically dealing with a lot of domain experts as it is. So I think it is difficult, and it's the mindset change that I think can drive, diversity into any business, irrespective of what the trade is, including airlines. You see far more women pilots now than you realize ever before.
No, that generalist point is really well taken, because now, being a chartered accountant, I've asked that question some 1,000 times. How did you end up in journalism after being a financial analyst and such, and how are you doing strategy consulting now? But the idea remains that everything adds up into that experience. And Manish, Rajiv, you yourself have had so many diverse experience. Tell me about that. How these diverse experiences have actually helped you in better outcomes and better decision making.
Yep. So while currently I'm in an educational institution, but I have worked as a CHR on the HR department for the last 38 years. So I am an HR getting into the CEO mold and MD mold. So yes, I've switched across various different types of organizations. And when I look back now, I think that brought a lot of depth of knowledge in me. I have worked for 34 years in, let's say, manufacturing, different organizations, promoter-driven, multinational organizations. And then I was picked up by a healthcare organization. I was the chief people's officer for Fortis Group. So there was a question. I asked them that, why are you picking me up from manufacturing? They said, this is exactly what we are looking at. When you come in, because manufacturing has very stable processes, healthcare at that point of time was becoming corporatized. So they wanted those processes to be brought in, that thought process to be brought in, that customer-centric process to be brought in. That is why they picked me up. And we did wonderful work in Fortis. I was there for 4 years. And then I was picked up as a board member in a logistics company. That added another dimension to my experience. Hugely people-oriented business, 90,000 employees. So, and 80 unions we were dealing with, 80 trade unions were there. So many, many things I learned from there. Then you come to education. And education is a totally different ballgame. Now, when I sit as an MD and a CEO over there, I look at numbers, I look at things, I see a very different perspective. I see people behind that. I see attitudes behind that. I see personalities behind that. How can we overcome those things? That is where this diversity of thought comes in, not just as an HR head, because we already have an HR head, but then connecting that with the business outcome, I think that is where the diversity of thought comes in. And we are now leading very different, I would say, initiatives, which may not be replicated or anywhere else as of now. They may be later, but not now. I think that is what advantage this diverse work experience, diverse thought brings to the table. And I think I am a living example of that, and I am a lifelong learner. I will continue to learn. I'm learning education systems now. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, great journey indeed. But Venkatesh, that's the point. While yes, everyone wants to celebrate the diversity of thought and different personalities, as he pointed out, that also ends up leading to, let's say, a bit of friction when it comes to, let's say, boardrooms or decision making, because obviously you have to kind of deal with all of that. Is that a real challenge? And how do you deal with that diversity of thoughts?
Suddenly I can visualize our boardroom right here. Okay, and yeah, the challenge is real. The challenge is real. And what with finance product distribution firm, right? We are almost 61 years old, and we often pride ourselves of great retention. And we have leaders in the boardroom who have worked with the organization for 40 years, 41 years. And they become, core part of the organization. They start relating to the organization as their own, right? And when it becomes your own, and anybody who comes down to make a change, they believe that, okay, hey, you know what? It's my organization. I have lived through this. Exactly. I've built this organization for 40 years. So, please slow down, okay? And then there are new people. Okay, you put in the youngsters in the room, and and they will. And the youngsters are not shy anymore. And that's why I said diversity is now people are coming in and they are bulldozing their way in. Okay, and there was a time when they said, hey, can you include me? Now they said, you bloody well include me.
Exactly.
Okay, so, people are coming in with very, very diverse thoughts, and they say, hey, you know what, this is what is it, the agile way of working, the sprint way of working, the pilot way of working, and they say, test fast, fail fast. And that's a entire sect that is sitting right there. And then there's an entire sect which says slow is fast. Slow is fast. Look, we are a finance-driven organization. We are compliance-driven. We are regulatory-driven. And sometimes compliance, regulatory is a little overdone also and used as a tool to prevent change.
Yeah.
Right? So, so the friction is real. The friction is real. So, and when I became a CEO some time back, and I asked this question to a very good friend of mine, and I said, hey, you know what, 2-bit around becoming a CEO. He said, you know what, actually a CEO is quite jobless. Okay, because everybody else is working. Okay, everybody else is working, and your job is to ensure that everybody works well together. And sometimes I do it with great amount of kindness, and sometimes with brute force. Okay, and because the youngsters come up with vibrant thoughts, and the agile way of work is good. But sometimes the experienced folks bring in stability and strength. They are able to point out. Okay, so how do you get both these people to collaborate? There is friction, but one of the ways that we try and achieve it in our organization is we have co-working groups. We get the seniors to mentor the newbies to reverse mentor the seniors. But there are things that the seniors don't know. For example, AI, a very often spoken topic today. Okay, we say that, hey, you know what, these are tools that these people are very strong at. Why don't you reverse mentor? So we do some creative work around that, and that's something that tries and reduces the friction in the boardroom. Yeah, but there's no definitive solution to it. It keeps happening. but we keep living through it, but we keep improvising.
Yeah, and I think that leads to the best decision making in a way that you are able to kind of put together all the thoughts, the more aggressive ones and the safer ones, and come up with the best one. But Abhishek, what about your organization? What have you done to ensure that inclusivity is not just for compliance purpose, but it actually, adds business value?
So we are a young organization, young in terms of people's age as well. Probably I will be the oldest there. The education itself, when we started in 2009, I was part of a bank and then invested in the organization that point in time. The whole idea was how to make an impact, and nothing better than education. And that's how you make a bigger impact, bigger chunk. With AI coming in, and I'll share something which happened yesterday evening. I went back and I told my son, 12 years old, he teaches me Python, by the way, these days. So the next generation is different altogether. He charges me some $500 for a Python class. So that is how it is. So these kids who are coming in now, they are aware. He said something very interesting. He said, Papa, knowledge would be a commodity after a period of time. True. And when I looked at it, said, how would it impact our educational institution or any other educational institution? The idea is to evolve over a period of time. If we don't hear new ideas, we would be dead soon. We'll be dead soon. So the idea is to respect those thoughts, include those thoughts, even if they are crazy. We are starting something called AI for Finance. That's one of the courses which we are starting. We are starting something on AI on stock market. So we do financial modeling and valuation. I think that is something which is very based to a lot of things. But how do we keep evolving and keep improving? I think that is what it is. And the whole foundation for success is together further. Saath mein sabke saath. So that is how it works, and that's how it's been working for us till.
I think that Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas is flowing from the
Not-
top
not
itself.
Not that.
Good for that clarification to come through. But, Manish, tell me, as a CEO, how do you personally drive that change, and how do you make sure that diversity and inclusion is a thing that, as he talked about initially, becomes a normal thing that you don't have to think about in a specific way? How do you do that?
Yeah. So we use what I call it the blending approach, because, most of the time what you hear, and our organization is one of those wherein, people stay for a very long time. Everybody talks about attrition. We talk about is that why there is so much, less attrition in the company. We have people, 30 years and all that. So what happens is, the most spoken is, this guy has come in, 1 year ago. What does he think of himself or herself? What have been doing there? What have we been doing here for 25, 30 years? What do they think of themselves? Now, you cannot change that mindset. I can change mindset, but I can't really. And we need them also. We need them for a purpose. So we use what we call the blending approach in every single team. Every single team, we have 10, 12, departments. We try and put people who are young, and also even if they are lateral hires with 5 years, 6 years, who are, I will not say troublemakers, but who can speak their mind. And then we blend them with, every department. And we have made a golden rule for the meetings is that the guys who actually control the department will keep quiet. And these are the guys who will make all the presentations and this and that. So I think we have to give them voice. Otherwise, either these people leave or they can't speak up for themselves, and then they try to sort of, adjust to the atmosphere of the company, if they have to survive. So that's one of the main approaches that we are. Second is, whenever we are talking about a new business, new initiative, new strategy, we throw it to different and more younger people. I will say even older also. There are people, who are very different thinking people. And then those are the ideas we try and sort of discuss in the boardroom, rather than, getting it from your HODs and your, the C-suite kind of, people that you have. Because So we are trying to break the mold in that fashion. But if this is more practical way, we felt you can include more people. Thank you.
Yeah, no, please, of course.
I'll just add on to that. Just taking on from what he was mentioning, I was in a management committee meeting on this Tuesday, and a lot of senior lecturers, professors were there, and some school kids were also, because we make it a point to include children also, students also in our meeting so that they can give ideas. The brightest ideas were coming from a 9-year-old girl. Brightest ideas from a 9-year-old, and that made real sense. We were wondering that everybody has been sitting in the room, has been in the system for the last 20 years, 25 years, some 30 years. This young girl is making a lot of sense. So that is, if you include that thought process, gives you a totally different perspective. So, but yes, of course, you need to have that bandwidth to include and listen to them and then act. That is what is going to be the way to go forward. And that was an example. It is still, I can still visualize what, that was brilliant. Brilliant, a 9-year-old young, small girl giving such brilliant ideas.
That's really heartening and endearing to hear, and the fact that you actually heard it out as well and made sense. But you know, Venkatesh, because we're talking about a bit of, let's say, youngsters versus wiser right now, there's also a bit of a, you know, culture question that comes up, because people with, let's say, younger age want a work-life balance. They want flexibility in terms of work hours. They are not the ones who are going to sit 9 to 5. They'll be like, you tell me what I need to do, whether I finish it in 1 hour of sitting full day or wherever, it's my headache. But at the same time, there is that expectation that organizations have that our culture is sit here, be with people, and blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying, right? How do you manage that? Flexibility, but yet a discipline.
Okay, you said we are speaking about younger and wiser people. Did you mean I'm old? That's a bit of a jab.
Your
actually,
words, not mine.
Okay. So, it's actually, the question that you asked is very real, very happening. But I have just very often seen that as long as people have their objective and their purpose very clear, then ours don't matter. You'll be surprised. I have a 21-year-old, right? And, many people may have a 21-year-old, and there might be a few 21-year-olds sitting right here, right? So she sleeps like a sloth on a Sunday, okay? And she ends up sleeping till 1 p.m. And my wife really has the jitters. She says that she's sleeping till 1 p.m. I mean, she's supposed to get up and have breakfast. But, she's pursuing law as a, law graduate. And when there are assignments and when there are, research papers to be done, she's doing that till 4 a.m. in the morning. Okay? So, and in our organization, we have 5,000 people. And, our average age, by the way, is 26. Okay? And, a significant portion of our front line is between 21 to 23. Right? And 60% of them, women. Okay? And, very often, when I go back to my leaders, I tell them, and they have this question, sir, hum jab, that typical question, right? Hum jab, pehle hum young the, to, we never had to be told. We never had to be told what to do. And we learnt it all ourselves, and these guys are depending on us. I said, have you sat down with them and cracked their dream, their objective? Okay, so very often, when I sit down with youngsters, and understand what is that, their aspiration, their goal, and what is it that they want to achieve and why they are here, you crack it. Okay, and then ours don't matter. They automatically appear at 9 a.m. They refuse to leave office at 9. Sometimes I need to kick a few youngsters out of the office saying that, hey, it's late. You know what? And what with all these rules saying that after 8 p.m., women are not supposed to be working in an office. And so sometimes I walk around and, I have no work in Delhi and I chuck people out. I say, hey, go. And they say, sir, abhi thoda kaam hai. Okay, so I find the problem is opposite when people are driven with purpose. And how do you imbibe that purpose into them continuously through, one to many, one to one? I think that's a formula that you need to crack. And if you crack that, then you're home and dry. Then hours don't matter. People work very, very hard.
Yeah, I think that's the golden, $1 million question sort of. If you've answered that, you've answered everything that the organization needs to work for. But Abhishek, tell me, while we're talking, it sounds like we're talking more about, let's say, organized sector and service sector and all of that. Do you think at the nation level where India stands, even when you go through, let's say, grassroots levels or SMEs and all of that, which is literally the backbone of the country, do you think diversity as a subject is well included and well thought through?
I doubt that. I think for some political reasons, those political parties would not let that happen. Though we say that unity has to be there, but that doesn't hold true. But all said and done, I think with education, a lot of things would change. With how things are right now, I think it is a bit serious, but I would not make a political comment here. But yeah, I think there has to be a change, and there has to be inclusiveness, which should be there.
Manish, what more can be done, you think?
See, I think if we change the entire ecosystem to be more outcome driven, then I think we can do a much better diversity inclusion. Now, what I mean by that is that many times, like Venkat was just saying, that we insist on that we will tell you the process A, B, C, D, and we will guarantee that outcome. Even if that outcome is not guaranteed, we are okay with it. So in anything, if we leave it to people to decide the way they want to get to that outcome, if we say outcome has to be this, so if we can drive what Mr. Shah also was saying, even at the country level, though I think we are a very big and a very diverse country, and though we have the diversity topic today, it is not a very easy thing to handle. So while I don't really have any comment for the national problem, but I think if each one of us solve our own mindset problem of the diversity, I think 1.4 billion people working towards that, it will get automatically solved. And then if it becomes I will not say a revolution, but it becomes a drive, then no political system or any force can stop it. So I think it has to start from each one of us. Are we ready to accept an idea or a decision made by somebody who we feel is not a great fit? It takes a lot of courage to listen to, we all talk about our children, we first discount it, oh बच्चा है, types, वो 25 साल वाला भी बच्चा रहता है and 50 साल का हो जाता है तो भी आपके लिए बच्चा रहता है. But I'll give you an example of how we were shocked by our son. He was preparing for JEE, and as Indian anxious parents, you'll say, okay, this one, that one, which coaching, this coaching, there's many hours, this. He said, just tell me what rank you guys need and just don't bother me after that. I wouldn't tell his rank, but then he had a great rank. But after that, he said, just don't tell me what to do. You need a great rank. You need me to get into which IIT, just let me know. If I don't get in, ask me a question then. So I think we should all get very outcome, driven. All of us are quite capable of deciding our own paths, and we'll all get back to our offices. We may take route A, B, C, but then that should be upon me to decide, what is the route A, B, C. You can guide me and say, I feel the route B is okay, but then you decide. So I think that's the way.
No, I think if we can follow that outcome-oriented approach, I think a lot of problems get solved,
Yes.
right? This is what I need you to deliver, how you deliver, within obviously the guardrails that have been put.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
So
But I don't know how much of it is actually being practically done, though.
So once again, you see, but problem is we also have been taught discipline, 9 a.m. So there is always this, fight between discipline to being process oriented to being outcome driven. Now it gets very confusing. I would say in certain tasks, discipline will decide. There is no doubt. In certain tasks, the skill, will decide. But in certain things, and I think in most of the things, outcome driven. So if the outcome is to, fly the plane at the correct time, the process will have to be that you have to have a trained pilot and reach the airport on time to the, dispatch center and all of that. So outcome driven also will have to follow, some particular process. But there is a big fight in this. Salespeople, you say, okay, you meet your target, but then this way. You just meet your target, you come to office, you don't come to office, I don't care. I just don't care. We do building engineering. He said, you just get that outcome, whether you want to, go out for 2 hours, it doesn't matter, as long as you do the
whether
outcome.
you make a pitch in a jacket or a polo t-shirt, we don't care. You have to just
It
convince
does-
the other guy, right?
But I think it's difficult, but it's doable.
Yeah, I think slowly and steadily we are getting there. But Manish, Rajiv, you yourself have had such diverse backgrounds and experience. What would be your advice to people who, when they're looking at candidates, how open they should be, how they should be judging people with different diverse backgrounds, the experiential hiring that we talk about, even at the leadership level? What would be your thoughts?
I think one thing which we all must look for in a candidate is how that candidate thinks. I think that's the most important thing. Achievements can be read through and everybody has worked and they've delivered. But how that individual thinks, I think that is what HR folks need to be very, very mindful of. That is where the interview questions should lead to. Not trying to understand, okay, what have you done? What challenges have you met? That's standard. But looking at the future, you're bringing in a new individual in your organization. How that individual is going to think to meet your challenges. What he has done is past. But your challenges are going to be very different. The thought process is what is going to differentiate. So my advice would be just focus on that one thing, how that individual thinks. And if you find that good thinker, it doesn't really matter from which area is he coming. That experience will definitely add to your portfolio. But the thought process has got enriched because of his past different areas where that individual has worked. So that is the defining area, I would feel.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to work with all of you guys, given the outcome-based approach and the value that you're putting to the diverse background.